You now say this is not only an alien spaceship, but it's nuclear powered? Why are you saying that?
The brightness of the object, the light that we see, is simply reflected sun.
There are moments when the universe seems to whisper to us, moments so strange and unsettling that they make even the most grounded scientists question everything they thought they knew. That's exactly what happened when Avi Loeb looked at the new set of images from 3IATLAS. It wasn't just another interstellar object drifting past our solar system. It wasn't just another comet, another icy shard torn from some forgotten star system. No, the images carried something else, something that felt impossible. And when Loeb spoke, when he dared to put words to that unease, the room shifted. His voice carried the weight of a possibility most weren't ready to face. The first impression was innocent enough. A small traveler, racing in from the darkness between the stars, its trajectory perfectly hyperbolic, as if to announce, "I do not belong here." Astronomers had expected this. After all, ever since Oumuamua shocked the world, they knew more interstellar visitors would come. This one, 3I/ATLAS, was supposed to be another chance to fill in the gaps, to finally make sense of how these bodies are born and why they wander across the galaxy. But instead of clarity, what they got was discomfort. The brightness, the reflections, the way the light played across its surface. These weren't random. Natural objects tumble. They spin irregularly, flashing sunlight in uneven bursts as jagged edges catch and scatter the rays. But 3I/ATLAS didn't behave that way. Its reflections seemed steady, coordinated, almost deliberate, smooth planes, aligned angles, as if it had been carved, not shattered, designed, not broken. And yet the strangest thing wasn't what it did, but what it didn't do. No trail of gas, no outgassing as it drew nearer to the sun, no coma, no tail, nothing to betray ice turning into vapor, nothing to explain how it could hold itself together under the heat. It was silent, too silent, and the silence began to echo through the minds of those who studied it. Loeb knew this pattern well. He had seen it before, in the mystery of Oumuamua. Back then, he'd suggested something few dared to whisper aloud, that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't natural at all. Maybe it was debris of something artificial, something technological. He was ridiculed for it, laughed at, accused of letting science fiction cloud his judgment. But now, staring at the images of 3I/ATLAS, the echoes were undeniable. The anomalies weren't isolated. They were repeating. And here is where the story turns unsettling. Because Loeb didn't stop at suggesting it might be artificial. He took a step further. He dared to consider the impossible. That this wasn't just a drifting shard of alien technology, but that it might even be nuclear-powered. Imagine the silence in the room when those words left his lips. Imagine the tension, the mix of awe and dread. Nuclear power, out there, between the stars. The idea wasn't born of fantasy, but of logic. Its brightness, its stability, the sheer refusal of this object to behave like ice or rock, it all whispered of energy, of control, of design. Still, most scientists clung to safer explanations. Sunlight, they said. Just sunlight bouncing off a surface we don't yet understand. Coincidences, unlikely compositions, statistical flukes, anything but intention. Anything but the terrifying thought that we were looking at the remnants of a civilization far older, far more advanced than our own. But deep down, the question gnawed at everyone. What if Loeb was right? What if this wasn't natural at all? What if the third interstellar visitor we've ever recorded carried within it the fingerprints of intelligence? That possibility alone was enough to make even the most hardened skeptic pause. Because if it is artificial, if 3I/ATLAS truly is what Loeb dares to suggest, then the universe is no longer just a stage of stars and planets and comets. It becomes a gallery of relics, a cosmic graveyard of technology scattered across light years, drifting silently, waiting for someone to notice. And we, by accident, by chance, just might have stumbled across one of those relics. That's when the silence in the scientific community grew heavier. The data was there. The images were there. And with them came a choice: to dismiss the impossible or to open the door to a possibility so vast, so unsettling, that it could change our understanding of the universe forever. As the world argued over data and dismissed whispers of the impossible, 3IATLAS continued its silent journey across the night sky, indifferent to the storms it had stirred in human minds. Telescopes followed it relentlessly, chasing fragments of light across the black canvas, searching for anything that might explain its strange behavior. But instead of answers, each observation only deepened the unease. Astronomers expected randomness. Nature thrives in chaos. Asteroids twist unevenly, comets flare violently, icy bodies crumble under the unforgiving heat of a star. Yet 3IATLAS seemed untouched, its path unbothered, its light strangely constant. It was as though something unseen was guiding it, holding it steady. The more they studied it, the harder it became to convince themselves that this was just another rock. And then came the realization that shook even the skeptics. Its brightness didn't fade the way it should have. For an object tumbling away from the sun, slipping back into the dark, the glow should have diminished. Instead, it lingered, reflecting far more sunlight than its size suggested it should. This wasn't just unusual, it was inexplicable. Unless, of course, its surface was something unnatural, something metallic, something built. For Avi Loeb, it was like déjà vu. He remembered the endless debates about Oumuamua, how colleagues had clung to natural explanations, even as the evidence stacked against them. He remembered being ridiculed, his reputation dragged through the mud, all for daring to consider that maybe humanity wasn't alone. And now, staring at this new interstellar visitor, he could feel that same resistance rising in the scientific world again. But this time, he also felt something else: vindication, because the anomalies were repeating, and science, no matter how stubborn, cannot ignore patterns forever. Still, the questions grew darker. If this object was artificial, what was it? A probe? A derelict ship? A fragment of some long-lost structure drifting endlessly through space? Or was it something more unsettling? A message, perhaps, left behind by a civilization we can't begin to comprehend. The idea of nuclear power made the mystery even heavier. Humanity has known nuclear energy for less than a century, and already we've used it to build weapons and spacecraft. To imagine another civilization, thousands or millions of years ahead, using the same energy to propel vessels between the stars, it was both logical and terrifying. Because if 3IATLAS really was powered, even in its ruins, then it wasn't just debris, it was evidence. Evidence of thought, evidence of design, evidence of intention. And yet, buried beneath the awe, there was something else: fear. Because to admit this possibility meant accepting that we are not alone, that the universe is not a silent wilderness, but a place filled with the echoes of others. Some might be long dead, others maybe not. And if they were capable of crossing the vastness of interstellar space, then their power would dwarf ours beyond measure. The public, of course, didn't need convincing. The mystery bled into headlines, into late-night conversations, into the restless corners of the internet. People wanted to believe. They looked at the images and saw what the scientists refused to say aloud. They saw symmetry, smoothness, purpose. They saw the shadow of intelligence reaching across the stars. And for a brief moment, humanity felt the same pulse of wonder that ancient people must have felt when they first looked at the night sky and wondered if someone might be looking back. But in the halls of science, belief is not enough. Proof is everything, and proof, frustratingly, remained out of reach. The object was too far, too fast, slipping away into the dark. Each night it grew dimmer, more elusive, until the data became little more than noise. Soon, 3IATLAS would be gone, just like Oumuamua before it. Another fleeting visitor, another unsolved riddle. And that was perhaps the most haunting part of all, because it meant the truth, whatever it was, would remain out there, beyond our grasp, a secret carried away by a traveler we would never catch. Yet the silence it left behind was louder than ever. Two interstellar objects, both defying explanation, both refusing to behave like anything natural, both raising the same impossible question. Are we witnessing accidents of nature, or are we glimpsing the wreckage of something greater? The thought lingered in every mind that dared to consider it, because if these weren't coincidences, if they were part of a larger pattern, then 3IATLAS wasn't just a curiosity, it was a warning, a signpost pointing to a truth humanity may not be ready to face. And as it vanished into the cold abyss, the world was left staring into the darkness, wondering if somewhere out there, something was watching us in return. When 3IATLAS slipped beyond the reach of our most powerful telescopes, a strange silence settled over the scientific world. It was the same silence that followed Oumuamua years earlier, a silence filled with half-spoken doubts, quiet speculation, and the uncomfortable weight of the unknown. But this time, the silence felt heavier. Two interstellar visitors, two anomalies, two chances at understanding, and both had vanished, leaving us only with questions too large to ignore. Avi Loeb continued to speak, undeterred by the skepticism surrounding him. To him, the evidence was clear. Nature does not repeat accidents so neatly. The absence of a cometary tail, the unusual reflection, the lack of randomness, these weren't quirks. They were signatures, signatures of design. To dismiss them was not caution, he argued, but fear. Fear of looking too closely at a truth that could shatter our sense of place in the cosmos. And perhaps he was right, because if 3IATLAS truly was artificial, then it carried with it the weight of a revelation far bigger than science alone. It meant that life, intelligent life, had been here before us. It meant we were not pioneers of the stars, but latecomers stumbling into a story that had been unfolding long before we opened our eyes. But that truth, as thrilling as it was, also carried a shadow. If civilizations existed before us, where were they now? Had they vanished, leaving behind only fragments of their passing? Was 3IATLAS nothing more than a relic of a species that no longer existed, drifting endlessly in the dark? Or was it possible that its journey wasn't random at all, that it was placed, directed, meant to be seen? That thought unsettled even the bravest hearts. Because if it was meant to be seen, then someone or something had been watching us, waiting for us to notice, testing us, perhaps, with breadcrumbs scattered across the night sky. The object was gone now, beyond the reach of any probe we could launch, beyond the grasp of any study we could hope to perform. And yet, its absence did not bring peace. Instead, it left behind a haunting presence, a lingering awareness that the universe might be filled with wanderers like it, some silent, some perhaps still active, all drifting through the void with secrets older than humanity itself. For some, this realization sparked hope. Hope that one day we might uncover the technology, the wisdom, the echoes of civilizations greater than ours, and learn from them. Hope that we were not alone in the endless dark, but part of something larger, a galactic community, ancient and vast, waiting for us to grow into it. For others, the realization sparked fear, because if they existed, then they might still exist. And if they were capable of crossing the gulf between stars, then their power would be unimaginable. Would they see us as equals, or as something less, something expendable, fragile, temporary? The truth is, no one knows. And perhaps that is the most haunting part of all, because the universe has given us glimpses, just glimpses, of something extraordinary, and then pulled them away before we could grasp them. Like shadows on a wall, just real enough to stir the imagination, just mysterious enough to unsettle the soul. And so humanity is left with a choice: to dismiss these objects as coincidences, comforting ourselves with natural explanations, clinging to the illusion that we are alone, or to accept the possibility that we are not, that these fleeting visitors are messages in bottles, drifting across the cosmic ocean, whispering of civilizations that came before us, civilizations that might still be out there. Either way, the universe will keep its secrets for now. More objects will come, more mysteries will arrive at our doorstep, and when they do, we will face the same question again. Will we dare to look at them honestly? Will we dare to accept what they might mean? Because somewhere out there, Beyond the reach of our telescopes, beyond the limits of our imagination, the truth is waiting, silent, patient, watching, and maybe, just maybe, it has already passed us by.